All right. So, hi, everyone, and welcome back for another webinar Wednesday. So, today we're going to talk about how to prepare for any public speaking engagement and 7 mistakes you definitely should avoid. This is really important because many of you are on this path to really building a public speaking career. Many of you, if you get a paid opportunity, there's a lot of things to prepare for, right? Once you get that gig, like how do you actually make sure that you position yourself for more opportunities, really grow your brand, and really accelerate the goals that you intended to have succeeded with any public speaking engagement in general. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation because there's a lot of things in my public speaking career that I learned along the way the hard way, and I want to make sure you don't make the same mistake. So in this session, we're going to reveal the essential strategies and insider tips, right, that will help you prepare for any speaking engagements with confidence. And then for those of you who are just starting out, or whether you're a seasoned speaker, this webinar is really kind of an ultimate guide to helping you overcome certain pitfalls that happens when people are really getting ready for a speaking engagement. And I'm going to come from a more logistical angle because I have another session where I talk about the art of public speaking and how to really prepare your keynote speech. This is mainly around the logistical framework to really make sure that you maximize any opportunity you have to get on world stages, right? To make sure that you keep having more opportunities like this one. And so today's conversation is going to help you make sure to maximize and really accelerate more opportunities. So by introduction, my name is Christine Tim. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a tech ecosystem builder. Many people know me as a huge personal brand influencer. I have built and launched several revenue generating companies. I've been featured in media outlets for my work in tech, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And with that, obviously I've built multiple brands over the years. I've built institutional brands, I've built startup brands, programs, initiatives, foundations. So I've done a lot of different work over the past 15 plus years of my career in the tech and entrepreneurship space. And one thing I will tell you is that I definitely learned how to also build my personal brand and my authority as a public speaker over the past couple of years. And one thing that I would say is that along that journey, I've learned a lot, and I want to share with you some things that you need to know as you prepare your journey in the public speaking space. Okay. So, first and foremost, I want to take a step back and make sure that you recognize why it's also a great opportunity for you to become a public speaker. For one, it's an amazing way to create immediate credibility, right? When you're a public speaker, people automatically see you as an authority in the room. People are able to really engage with you. People want to follow up. People want to work with you. You automatically attain immediate visibility and credibility right there from main stages. So it's really powerful in navigating your career and having that immediate credibility. Second, it's able to help you attract new career opportunities. Now, this is something I said over and over and over in previous sessions where I talk about public speaking. You just don't know what you don't know, right? And so when you are gracing main stages like this, you are putting yourself in a position to receive inbound opportunities where people can approach you and pitch you other career opportunities, other business ventures, other endorsement deals, other partnership deals, other projects. It helps position you for multiple avenues. I can't tell you the multiple things that have come my way just by speaking at many stages. And so definitely a great way to attract new career opportunities. Obviously, the third one is that you are able to create multiple streams of income, right? Not just through your public speaking speaker fees, but also all the alternative benefits of new clients, new partnerships, new endorsements, new opportunities through that speaking engagements. And last but not least, it gives you flexibility, right? Because a lot of times now, since the pandemic, being able to speak virtually and remotely is now a common thing to do. So it gives you the flexibility to really build out your career and your life with more flexibility by being able to speak publicly on virtual stages. Okay. And so it is really a phenomenal time also to be a public speaker, especially the world is run by events. Okay. I think the pandemic made that very, very clear that the entire global economy is run by the power of people coming together, whether it's in small groups or large arenas. Us convening is a big part of the human experience, and which means we are always going to need orators, we are always going to need speakers, we are always going to need public figures who could get on stage and inspire, to educate, to showcase, to really give us a new level of thinking, new leadership, new thought processes, new ways of seeing the world in which we live in as it's changing right before our eyes. So this is a great opportunity for you to be a part, I would say, not just of an industry that's always going to grow, but a part of the human fabric of connection, right? Being a public speaker means you are a part of something bigger than you, right? And so this is a great time to do this, because right now the global events industry is projected to reach 2.1 trillion by 2032. And these numbers are changing on a month by month basis as more and more people get into the event industry and more people realize the power of events to really transform communities and industries by design. And for my female speakers who are on this call, you have to understand there's a huge void, and there's always been a huge void of female speakers getting on stage. So you're literally less than 30%, and for some events, less than 5% of the event stage are female speakers. And you've seen this. You've probably seen events where you see a whole lineup of male speakers all saying the same constant viral loop of the same content. It's not fresh ideas. It's not fresh perspective. And so global events are looking for female speakers like you right now to not only diversify the conversation, but really showcase a new breadth of wealth, excitement, and just perspective, right? And so this is a great time to get into the speaker sector. So with that said, as someone who's been in the speaker circuit for a long time, I will tell you, I've experienced so much work speaking for institutional events, speaking for private events, for conferences. And one thing that people always ask me, because they see me on the speaker circuit on a continuous basis, is, Christine, how do I find these events that you get booked on? Like, you get booked all the time to be on these main stages. How do I find these events? Or probably the better question that I would like you to ask yourself is, how do these events find me, right? So how do you put yourself in a position where you are now attracting event organizers who want to book you to speak and to really talk and engage audiences of global proportions, right? And so these are things that, I know many people, when they're trying to get in the public speaker circuit, these are the two questions that I hope that you start to frame, like, hey, transition from how do I find these events to how do I get these events to find me and put me on stage to share my thought leadership. Now, I have an entire webinar session on my methodology on finding and managing speaking engagements. My methodology is around scope, right? Because again, you have to be very, very tailored to your speaking topics, so that way people could book you more because they know this consistent content and value. And my scope method is really around how to become a real strong sought after public speaker, how to really enter certain public speaker circuits, because I'm constantly on multiple speaker circuits for women entrepreneurs, for African entrepreneurs, for, female leaders in the tech space, CEOs, right? There's different circuits where people are pulling certain speaker profiles, how to create opportunities, how to create sustainable opportunities. So you build a pipeline. So that way, over time, you're building a referral and a testimony network where you're building that brand equity as a speaker. So eventually you're building this entire cyclical experience where you're constantly on a viral loop of opportunity as a public speaker, where you could now even live full time off your speaker income, off speaking opportunities, right? And so again, I have an entire different webinar session on this. You can see the link at the end of this session at the bottom below. So with that said, finding these opportunities and have these opportunities find you, it is very systematic. And beyond that, right, one thing that I learned as someone who has been sought after, and also in where I am right now, where I'm constantly getting outreach. We get outreach via email. We get outreach via DMs on my social. I get outreach. I don't know how they find my personal number, but I get outreach via my personal numbers. And one thing that we do is really create an anchor and position ourselves to be able to receive that list of pipeline opportunities coming through. And also, we also go outbound for these opportunities. So when you're in this dynamic where you're able to engage in outreach but also receive inbound opportunities, one thing that I would say is, you don't want to be someone who's doing multiple speaking engagements, but not really converting those speaking engagements into actually really long-term opportunities. So I always tell people, what are your goals What goals do you have for your speaking engagements? And one thing that people always say is like, okay, the outcome that I have for speaking engagements are more speaking engagements, clients. I want to be able to start selling digital products. I want to be able to get new career offers. I want to get brand partnerships. I want to get subscribers. I want to get followers. I want to get event invitations, be with celebrities, be recognized, get on awards, right? There's so many different goals and aspirations that people have when it comes to, their outcomes for speaking engagements, but you have to be very tailored and focused, because you could receive all these things. And I've been there before, where you receive all of the above, but you're still not getting the epitome of what you need, right? And so it's very important that you're clear with your objectives. And again, as speaking from experience, my journey into the public speaker circuit really started by accident. I didn't really wake up and say like, look, like I want to be a public speaker. How do I do it? So you guys are really lucky that you have someone like me who's actually telling you how to navigate the journey of being a public speaker, being a thought leader, being a communicator, and a leader on global stages. But at the time, it literally happened by accident. So I had to figure a lot of things out. So I was in the corporate space in the banking world. I quit to move to Dubai. And at that time, I launched my first company. Now, one thing that I talked about earlier is that public speaking gives you immediate visibility and credibility. So I was pitching my company at different startup competitions. I raised $250,000, by the way, within 6 months. Okay. Literally within 6 months, I was able to accelerate my company and launch my first startup. And my speaker career kicked off because, once you start pitching your company, you start to really get thought leadership about the industry. You start to provide, facts and information about so many different stakeholders within the industry. And as that thought leadership starts to grow, people now start to hear your journey. Like, what's your story? How did you get to this place? How did you become a female entrepreneur? How did you get into tech? Why did you move to Dubai? Are you from Haiti? What's your background? You start to now, the thought leadership and the topics start to spread, right? Where people are now, mentioning you in the media. Now you're starting to get into the right rooms where you're meeting celebrities. I'm working with heads of states. I work with a lot of government officials right away, right? So you start to really navigate and network, and you start to build this whole entire portfolio of speaking engagements. And for me, as I navigated that experience, I realized that more is not always better. Right. It's also very, very important that you learn how to really crystallize, again, your goals and your aspirations for every speaking engagement. So that way, every single speaking engagement is chipping away and giving you closer and closer and closer to your end goal. Right. So very important that you're aware of it. So with that said, like I said, many of you have multiple outcomes for each speaking engagement. But today, I'm going to clearly state to you that you need to have a system for preparing for speaking engagement opportunities. So that way you make sure that you make it not just a one-time opportunity, but a continuous opportunity that builds your personal brand, builds your company brands, builds the initiatives that you care about, and helps you build a community for life that you engage, that you nurture, that you inspire on a continuous basis. Okay. So one thing that I have is that I have a speaking engagement system. So there's a set of things that I do prior to the event, during the event, and post the event with my team. When I first started out, I did all of this by myself. Then I hired an executive assistant. Now I have a full team. I have designers, I have videographers, I have business development, outreach people. I have my executive assistants, right? So I have an entire team that helped me manage the speaking engagement system. However, before they all came on board, I had to really learn how to be very organized and systemized with my processes, right? So with that said, you need strategy. So with that, when you have strategy, you get to optimize your outcomes with every speaking engagement. So today, we're going to talk about, plain and simple, now that you're aware of the speaker circuit, why it's important to be a speaker, and how to really navigate this space. I'm going to share with you things that I wish people told me when I first got in the speaker circuit. And these are things that I'm sure you have not heard through the grapevine, because I'm going to get very clear and candid. But these are 7 mistakes you want to avoid, especially when it comes to preparing for any public speaking engagement. So let's dive right into this. Okay. So mistake number one, not putting all your logistical details about the event into one document or one folder. Now, let me tell you this. When you get a public speaking engagement and you do all the logistical confirmations via email, via phone call, and they tell everything that's ready to go, The day of the event, you'll be shocked to see like how many things that you forget, like, where's the venue? How do I get there? What's the details? Who's my audience? You want to make sure that you organize yourself, where I have something called executive one pager. On that executive one pager, it has everything about the event. It has a memo description about the event. It has the name, the location, the time, the contact person, the contact details. It has the theme. It has the flyer. It has the location, so that way I can put it into my GPS system, so my driver to get me to that event, right? It has a virtual link. Like, I actually, anytime we get an event where I'm booked to speak, we automatically put it on the calendar. So I get a calendar reminder before the event goes live. So that way it's on book. So I don't, cross book it with other items that happens in my everyday life, right? And also making sure that I have my ID and credentials, so that when I arrive at the venue, everything is ready to go. So one thing I would say, this is a huge problem when it comes to newbies on the block, where you could tell someone who's not prepared for a speaking engagement by their logistical preparation. Don't be that person. Create a one pager where you have all the details of the event, print it out. I even sometimes print out the contract, so that way I know what I'm up against, what I'm, supposed to prepare for, what's expected of me. So that way on the day of, I'm able to perform and speak without feeling that I have to worry about anything. And all that I have, actually, I should have brought my speaker binder folder. I have a speaker binder folder that showcase all these details from scratch. Okay. So have that one pager, have everything organized. All right. So that's mistake number one. And that's the solution to deal with that first mistake. Mistake number two, not having all of your speaker prep items also in one folder. Now, this is something that's really big. And because I travel a lot, I speak at multiple events around the world. I don't just speak in the United States. I also speak across Africa, the Caribbean, especially in emerging markets like the Middle East and all these different places where there might be a Wi-Fi issue. There might be a technical issue. So one thing I always tell people, never leave your space and enter another stage without having all your items regarding your speech all in one folder. So what does that mean? A printed copy of your speech, an email copy of your presentation, a USB copy of your presentation, your speaker contract, right? A trigger email to make sure that, once the program is done, you're able to like navigate and say a thank you email to the organizer, or follow up with anyone who signs up once you come off stage, who wants to work with you post the program, right? These are things that is you making sure that you have a list of all the things that you need for your engagement. If you have props, make sure that they're all in a box with you or a bag with you. I even have like my checklist of all the items that I bring per event. And if you want access to that checklist, it's just comment checklist, and I'll send that to you. And on that checklist, it has, the cameras that we're going to bring with us, the recording devices that we're going to bring, all the, flyer information that we're going to give at the event. All of that needs to be in a folder or a box or a bag. So that way, and I actually have a speaker bag where every time I go to an engagement, I have it ready to go. Keep in mind, I also have a speaker box for when I do virtual engagements. So when I have virtual engagement, that box is right there. It has all the things that I need, like, for the engagement. So that way, anytime I have engagement, my staff comes in, they put everything they need, the one pager, my copy of my speech, my notes and everything in that box. So I know when, the time is ready to go, I have everything I need. So don't be that person where you have not prepared or printed out all your materials regarding your speech, because something will inevitably always happen. But if you already fully are prepared for any scenario, it does not matter. So make sure that you're always prepared in that regard. 3, this is a huge one. This is a huge, huge mistake. Not having a media strategy in place prior to going to the event. This is really, really important. This is for, again, if you're new in the circuit, a lot of times, and I used to do this, where every event has an event photographer and videographer. So you probably will, in the end of the event, hound the event organizer for those for photographs, for the media. And let me tell you this, don't ever harass event organizers for media content regarding you on stage. It is the quickest way to not only annoy event organizers, but also to show how, not so much incompetent, but how inexperienced you are at this stage of the journey. No matter what, whether you're a novice or whether you're an experienced speaker, you have to come with your own film crew, or you have to come with your own devices. So here's why I'm saying step by step. If you are solo, you're just speaking out, you don't have a crew like myself, I have about 4 people that go with me for every single engagement. One is my assistant, One is my videographer, one is my photographer, and one is just someone just helping with any logistical stuff, like running around to go get like, maybe a drink or this or something that's going to be needed on site for whatever reason, right? If you don't have a team, a designated team that goes with you. I used to do this by myself. This is why I have my speaker bag. In that speaker bag, I have a standing stand for my phone to record. I also have a stand for my laptop to record and a camera. And I put it in the center stage. And just from the beginning of the day, before I go on stage, because when they announce you come on stage, you don't want to be trying to fix your camera. This is real story, by the way, when I first got started, right? This actually happened to me where they called me on stage and I was fiddling with the camera. It just looks so bad, right? So as soon as you enter the room, always arrive at any speaking engagement early enough where you could fix your camera, right, in the middle of the stage to make sure to capture you. And we got to the point when I started doing this earlier, I started coming with 2 cameras. One at the stage where it's just me on stage filming me, and one at the back where it includes the audience at the best possible angle that I want to capture the audience reaction to me speaking. And both cameras are recording live. One is just flicking through pictures, right? And of course, I'll probably ask 1 or 2 people in the audience, can you take a couple pictures for me? But now, once I stepped to the next level where I had a team, I had a checklist. And this is another thing that we could send you, right? It's the checklist of all the things that I want the videographer and photographer to capture of me while I'm on stage. A lot of people who are new to speaking don't know, like you think that you could just tell someone, just take 5 pictures, and you realize they take the 5 pictures and all of them are horrible. In my checklist for my photographers, I say, make sure to capture at least 1 photo of me speaking in the middle of the stage, me speaking near the podium, me speaking when someone raised their hand, capture a picture of me from the right side angle, from the front side angle, from the back side angle, from behind the stage, right? I literally have a checklist. Like, this is my expectation after 10 to 15 minutes of speaking. This is the number of photos and angles I expect of you to capture of me speaking on stage. Many of you might be shocked to hear this, but if you do not provide that checklist to your photographer, to your videographer, you will not capture the images that you need to also promote for further speaking engagements, to build your brand as a thought leader, but also to capture the moment properly. So a solution to you not being prepared with a media strategy is, 1, having a person designated to capture your media, making sure that you give them a checklist of what is expected for the fundamentals for them to capture you on stage, making sure that you also come with your own equipment. And this, by the way, to this day, even though I hire photographers and we hire videographers to come to my speaking engagements, I too still have minimum 2 cameras at every event on a stand recording and capturing me on stage, in addition to my team, right? So this is very, very important that you have a structure, pretty much a media capture strategy for your experience, okay? Now, one thing I will say about media too is that as you get better and better at doing this, you will know what you need to capture along the way. But this is a huge mistake that I know people won't tell you, that I hope that you remember for next time, okay? Mistake number 4 is not having a post-speaking engagement call to action process. No, I see this all the time where people say, like, they say I was an amazing speaker, but they didn't hire me to come back. I haven't heard from them. Why am I not on more speaker circuits? I'm such a phenomenal speaker. This is because you did not create a process or a system from when you're on stage to when you get off stage. Let me tell you this. At the moment that you're on stage and when you leave, that first 10 to 15 minute window is literally the most important 10 to 15 minutes. I call it the 15-minute window of fame, where you just gave a powerful speech. You just came on stage. You just rocked it. You gave thought leadership. You gave energy. You gave charisma. You gave style. You gave pizzazz. You gave them all you got. People are going to run up to you. They're going to want to talk to you. They want to discuss. They want to follow up. And I've seen so many speakers not only come off stage and just leave like there's some diva, right? But they have no way of pulling that high emotion state that people have at the end of the speaking engagement and funnel them into a systematic process where they could follow up to get more clients, to get more bookings. So here's the solution to this. That first 15 windows, again, when I first got started, I was handling this by myself. But once you have a team, at least have an executive assistant or a volunteer with you that day. All that person is doing is three things. One, giving out your business cards. You want as many people at the end of the stage to get your contact information. You have to have a professional email anyway for people to be able to email the account on a continuous basis to book you, to engage with you, to follow up with you. So one, your business cards. I know we live in a digital age, but you need to have that business card because it's something that someone can hold. Second, I usually have a flyer or a survey. Nowadays, you can scan a QR code where people can scan and either sign up for a future webinar, sign up for a future program, sign up to give me a survey or a testimonial or a referral or a follow-up. I actually have a printed UR code scanner where people could be able to follow up and engage with me, right? It's such a phenomenal thing to do because people always scan it and always follow up. And once they're in your email circuit, now you could cultivate a community and really build and engage with that audience over time, right? Very, very important. And of course, on that QR code, there's a hotline number where, if they want to, book you to do a consulting session, engage with your team, right? You want to make sure that you have a system to be able to capture those people when they're immediately on an emotional high of dealing with you, right? And of course, someone as experienced myself, I have digital products, I have courses, I have programs, I have consulting sessions, right? This is a way to nurture them. Like a couple of, if you still want to work with Christine, here are the three different ways to work with Christine. You could book her for another event. You could buy one of her courses and learn how to do X, Y, Z, right? This is a way to not only cultivate more content for the audience that you just pretty much wowed from the speaking engagement, but also be able to build our audience over time, right? So this is a huge opportunity and huge mistake. And by the way, I've had situations where I did a keynote speech. Let's say I get the keynote speech and I was booked for 15 grand. The follow-up referral booking that I got from the emotional high of someone seeing me on stage, where I now get a workshop paid gig for 50 grand. Do you see the difference? Just because in that 15 minutes window of fame, I was able to capture that audience and engage them for further dialogues and further information, right? So really important. And over time, you're going to build your own product suite of digital products that you could offer your community. Because I'm a seasoned entrepreneur, I have been requested by my community, Christine, can you teach us how do you get paid speaking engagements? How do you build your personal brand? So I have a personal brand accelerator program. I have a paid speaker accelerator program. I have retreats. I have conferences, right? So I have an entire product suite that people could capitalize and build into to accelerate their career, to accelerate their goals and their aspirations and the work that they want to do, right? And so over time, you'll know what the call to action you want to provide based on different speaking engagements that you get on board. But at the very least, my call to action goal is to make sure I get the contact information. So the call to action after every engagement is that person's immediate contact information so that we could take the conversation forward, especially off the high of such an opportunity. Okay. Mistake number 5. Oh my goodness. Right. After that 15-minute windows of fame, you now are getting into the logistical space of, okay, now how do you wrap up an event? So the next mistake I've seen people do is not having a post-speaking engagement wrap-up process in place. And this is really important. You should always be ready to write a couple of posts about that event, maybe a photo and sharing that on social. Like, it was a pleasure speaking at XYZ, because again, you're a paid public speaker. You want people to know that you're open for more speaking engagements. So you got to showcase when you're on stages so people know, oh, Christine was speaking here on this topic. Christine was here speaking on this topic. I want to be able to book her for my event. They need to see the visuals of you on stage doing the work so that way they could book you for these opportunities, right? So being able to go straight to social and showcasing videos and photos and takeaways from that engagement. And one thing that I always do, I always have like a workbook or a checklist at the end of every speaking engagement. Again, that helps generate emails both for the audiences that was in the room. But if someone saw that photo and like, oh, I wish I was there, and now she has a workbook or a download that I could get the summary of what was said at that speaking engagement, now I have double whammy. Emails from the event, but also emails of people who had FOMO, who weren't at the event, who could not get that content, right? And of course, having a system to be able to thank the event organizers and follow up with them in a way that's with gratitude and to maintain that rapport and that credibility and that, relationship for further speaking engagement opportunities. So very important to have a really great wrap-up process post any engagement. And like I said, this is a visual of my social media pages, my website. After every event, we have a video post, we have a photo post. I update my, my sheet, like, if it's like a major engagement, up in my speaker one pager to reflect the magnitude of this new engagement. On my website, maybe having a blurb or article about the engagement and takeaway insights. Okay. Now, mistake number 6, and this is another big one. As you get more speaking engagements, you're going to learn a lot, right? There's going to be things are not going to go perfectly as planned every single time. So after every single speaking engagement, I have a post engagement debrief meeting with my team, right? Again, when you first get started out, you're going to have that engagement meeting with yourself. That is fine, right? But once you get an executive assistant, once you get a team in place, you have to have a discussion. What went well, what went wrong? So usually we get, in a room and we discuss, like, look, like we come to my office and meet and discuss, and okay, what was the reaction? How did people react to this part of the presentation? So we break it down into 2 parts. One is feedback about the performance of my talk. How did I do on stage? Were people reacting? Did people engage? Did people learn? Did I successfully fulfill the delivery of the content? That's part 1. Part 2 is logistical and opportunity. So this is around like, okay, did we close any deals? Did we talk to anyone? Did we do this? Did we do this? Did we submit this? Did we post? Did we do social? Did we capture images? Those are the logistical part of the meeting. And we document any lessons, any outcomes, any information on a document. So that way we don't repeat the same mistakes and we act on those insights immediately. Okay. If we learn, for example, I give you a perfect example, because I travel out to Africa all the time. And one thing that we were learning, every time I went to a speaking engagement, things are never straightforward. So let's say I get booked to go speak at the University of Ghana. And this is actually a true story, where they'll say it's in this place or this hall. And when you arrive, you got to get to another side of the building. So one thing that we learned from, building and going to so many events and speaking at so many functions across the continent is like, look, we're always going to send one member of my team the day before or hours before I come in to make sure, like, where's the registration? Where's the location for parking? Where did she see? Get the name tag, get all the logistical stuff out the way. So all I have to do is come, enter, and speak on stage. Because the thing is, logistically, you do not want to be overwhelmed with logistical nonsense before you get on stage. And a lot of times we underestimate how that drains your energy and drains the momentum of what you're about to deliver if you have to do battle with traffic or the wrong directions to registration, or dealing with someone who can't even find your name tag. I mean, it's small things, but it does affect your energy and performance going on stage. So that's one example of how we are learning from experience, where anytime we get certain engagements, we automatically send someone ahead to scope out the event, scope out the venue, scope out the logistics to make sure that it's easy for our team to enter when we arrive, right? So this is a big one. So act on insights immediately. And you can only act on insights if you debrief and meet about, because something that you might be saying, someone else on your team might have a different perspective, right? So gathering the intelligence from that meeting helps tremendously, okay? And mistake number 7, last but not least, is not having a pipeline system strategy for attracting the next set of paid speaking engagements. It's really important that you learn how to really build out your speaking engagements like 3 to 6 months out. You do not want to have a situation where you have an entire month where you don't know where you're getting your next paid gig. It really creates uncertainty. I've been there before where I'm just like, luckily, obviously, I have other businesses where I get my income through my multiple businesses. But there was a time where speaking engagements were a big part of my career income. And I recognized at that time, because I was just starting from ground zero on, because I was committed, some of the 6 mistakes that I'm talking about today, I had situations where it was weeks where I didn't get the next speaking engagements. Now I know better. I'm booked at least 3 to 6 months out. So I know what the structure will be financially, schedule wise. You want to make sure that you're booked in advance. So one thing that I will say is, obviously, you have to have a system for email outreach, email scripts. You have to have a CRM system to manage event organizers, outreach and management, and content strategy to receive inbound opportunities as well. Now, I have obviously a speaker accelerator program where we talk about what you should be saying in your email scripts, how to really organize yourself systematic on a day-by-day basis. How many emails should you send out? How many emails should you be receiving? The traction rate, and how do you close deals? How you do speaker contracts? But all in all, is really just structuring yourself to really take this seriously and creating, pretty much organizing your outreach and inbound process for speaking engagements in general. Okay. And at the end of the day, ultimately, you're going to make a ton of mistakes as you really grow and build your brand as a public speaker. You're really going to make a ton of mistakes. But the most important thing that you need to do is really learn how to, one, avoid these 7 mistakes that I shared with you, right? And two, really learn how to really build momentum when you have it, so more and more engagements can come away, and to the point where you have now an automatic system and process for building on that brand. So just to wrap up, these are the top 7 mistakes to avoid. One, not putting all your logistical details in one of the event in one folder, so that way you're going to the event having all the things that you need at your disposal, so you're not bogging your energy down with logistical details, but you're ready to just perform and get on stage. Two, not putting all your speaker prep items in one folder and having backups, having your speech on on an email, on a thumb drive, print it out, so that we have multiple ways of accessing your content. God forbid if anything were to happen on the day of the program. Three, not having a media strategy in place prior to going to the event. Make sure that you have your photographers and your videographers on point and ready to go with a checklist, so that way you're not dependent on the event organizer's media files, but also you are experienced enough to know what to ask for of your photographers, of your videographers, so that way you're capturing you at your best, which is on stage, wowing the crowd and giving the audience what they came for. Number 4, not having a post-speaking engagement call to action process. You need to be able to navigate that 15 minutes of fame. When you come off stage, you have a 15-minute window where everyone's on an emotional high and all they want to do is engage and meet and talk with you. Have a system in place to be able to capture email, capture information, and capture a referral process, so that way you can be able to engage with people. Okay? Last but not least is obviously number 5 is having a post speaking engagement media wrap up process, right? Where after every media engagement, you're able to know, okay, how I'm going to post this information on social. So that way, those who were not at the event are able to see the program and be able to say, hey, I saw that you were speaking virtually on this program. How do I engage with you for the next engagement? So you keeping a pipeline in place, right? Number 6, not having a post-engagement debrief session. Always learn from every engagement, so you optimize yourself, you optimize your content, and really build your professional speaker database as a public speaker. And last but not least, having a system and a strategy in place to have consistent opportunities for public speaking engagements, especially paid speaking engagements, at least 3 to 6 months out. Okay. So that way you're building your profile, you're building on your career. So that's the top 7. So what's next? If you want to learn more on how to really navigate your journey as a thought leader, to really build your communication skills, build your leadership, and really build your authority within your industry, and really build your brand in a way that is really going to accelerate your career, really adds visibility to your goals and your initiatives, and really build you up to really provide immense value to your community, then I welcome you to join my Public Speaker Accelerator program. This program will be a great opportunity for you to be able to help you with navigating that process, excuse me, right? So feel free to be able to book to have access to that program. It's really a great opportunity where I'm able to share with you all different ways to navigate the public speaking career process, really had to navigate that journey. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side. Obviously, this program is a way for you to avoid some of the mistakes I've experienced over the past couple of years. So I'm excited that you were able to be a part of this session today. And I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar session. Best of luck. Hopefully you avoid these mistakes. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side on its main stage near you. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.